Hi, this is Alessandro, and today I'm in Krakow, and I'm connected with Gamali from Ghana, and we're going to talk about community or community building or innovation. Gamali, you want to introduce yourself, and while I start walking around Krakow?
Hi, I'm Alessandro. Thank you very much for reaching out to me and extending this opportunity for me to be part of this program. I've seen the work, I've been following the work you've been doing around AIMS Ghana and also doing your research. So it's fantastic to connect with you. Just to introduce myself, my name is Gameli Adzaho. I come from Keta in Ghana. I'm currently based in Accra, Ghana. I'm a specialist in environment and human health. So I did a master's in that at the University of Exeter. I'm currently the regional manager for Africa for Just One Giant Lab. So it's a digital platform in the community which is giving access to people to use open science and technology to solve problems around the world. I'm also the founder of Global Lab Network, which is a community of STEAM students and young professionals mobilized for social impact in Ghana. I'm involved in many other communities around the world. For example, the Africa Open Science and Hardware. I was a fellow at the Weissenbaum Institute in Berlin. And so I'm all about spreading the love of science and technology and leveraging it for sustainable development, particularly in Africa. To exchange ideas, to exchange opportunities, to network, to get to know each other. So that's the first part of it, what we call convening. Then we also try to engage, basically, and we do this in many ways. For example, we have our monthly community calls through which we exchange knowledge and skills on different topics. So, for example, the last community call we had, we discussed on the research landscape and what it takes for people to go into research, for example. We also organize a series of events we call the Science Cafe. In the Science Cafe, we invite experts, so either practicing scientists or innovators, to share their knowledge to the public in a very simple and informal manner. So with the Science Cafe, you basically take a topic, either it's a topic which is current or a topic which is stimulating. So, for example, the last time we had a Science Cafe, we talked about astronomy, for example, which is an interesting or stimulating topic. Before that, we talked about the COVID pandemic, and we are looking at how to build resilience in these difficult times. So that is about engagement. We also have a third strand that we call Take Action, and basically Take Action is all about identifying challenges and then trying to create solutions to address them. One of the things we do, for example, is to visit rural communities in partnership with the local organizations. So, for example, in the Volta region of Ghana, we have a fantastic organization called NECA Youth Foundation that are into empowering young people in the community. And so every now and then they invite us to also come and engage young people on STEM. We do STEM workshops and skills building sessions for the kids there. And this is an opportunity for these children in rural area to have access to knowledge, information, skills that they typically would not have access to. So we use topics, we do sessions like design thinking, creativity and problem solving, practical STEM, environmental stewardship. It's a fantastic experience that we have every time we get the opportunity to go out there. And what we are trying to do with Global Lab then is that beyond that single action, we want to develop other programs that can really help address various challenges, that we have in our context, and not only to address the challenges, but also to just basically leverage opportunities that are available as well. Then finally, beyond the Take Action, the final arm of our operation has to do with sharing whatever we have with others. So that propagate it. It can be in the form of participating in conferences and sharing the knowledge that we have. It can be in the form of participating in competitions. For example, last year we were part of Falling Walls Engage, where we ended up as one of the finalists. And it can also be in the form of collaborating with other organizations, to extend our impact beyond our traditional areas. For example, one of the most recent collaborations we've been part of is a STEM bootcamp for women, which was organized by a fantastic organization called Empowering Female Minds in STEM. We helped them to organize the bootcamp, and we are like partners in delivering something like that. So that's what we are all about. We are all about leveraging on the skills, talents, networks of young STEM professionals and students in Ghana. But at the same time, we are also all about, as an organization, from an ecosystem point of view, partnering with other organizations to deliver value in this space. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, this was like very broad view, but do you have, in this context of this kind of creating this community, have you ever thought, I don't know, what can be the ideas to promote innovation? What can be some kind of innovation that have some impact in the society or the economy? Is it something you thought about?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the thing is that for me, I think that at the heart of innovation, it's strengthening capacity of individuals. So first of all, as individuals, we need to be able to get to a certain level in terms of skills and expertise. And at the same time, it's also about creating opportunities for people to act. You can have a certain level of skills and expertise, but when you don't have the opportunity to act or even the willpower to act, then you won't be able to innovate. So these are the two things that I believe that they are very important for you to be working on. That's the reason why we do doing the community calls, for example, because that's the opportunity where that's the platform where we have the opportunity for skills transfer, and also we encourage our members to access other opportunities like internships or applying to graduate school or applying to other programs that they can advance their knowledge, because those exposures to other opportunities will create the landscape for innovation. But as an organization, in terms of what kinds of issues can we tackle and what kinds of issues can we work around to develop innovations, we've worked on, and we are interested in some of these topical areas or some of these thematic areas. For example, digital literacy. We strongly believe that the development of digital skills is central to transforming society because of how technology has taken over the world. So digital literacy, for example, it's a very important component. We can create a lot of digital solutions around all kinds of challenges. That's very important. This second thematic area, which is coming a little bit from my own bias because of my background in environment and health, it's environmental health. It's also a very important topic for us. There are all kinds of challenges in Accra, for example, in terms of plastic waste, in terms of air pollution, etc. And so I believe that there are opportunities for us to address challenges around some of these issues. For example, Global Lab, in the past, we've done workshops around air quality, trying to get people to understand air quality, and also we've had workshops trying to show people how to build simple air quality monitors, to measure air pollution, for example. So these are things that we try to work on, and we continue acting on. We once organized a datathon with a partner organization where we are basically looking at, if you access air quality data, for example, how can you translate that to information that will be valuable to ordinary people to be able to track air pollution and stuff around that. So there are there are like so many areas where people can innovate. I mean, I've talked about some of the areas that we've worked closely on, but there are opportunities in agriculture, for example, agricultural technology. There are opportunities around renewable energy, all kinds of, possibilities are there, once you take 2 or 3 fields and mash them together.
And like with these new buzzwords that have been, like, we hear every day, like from AI, quantum computing, all this, do you think will be specific to some of them, or these are just some, or how can we also find let's say, the new technology that will be useful?
Yeah, I think that when you are talking about these new emerging technologies, you are actually going back to my first point, which is that capacity strengthening is at the heart of innovation, because your ability to act, your ability to take action, to do something, it's often limited by how much skills that you have. So as technology is evolving and there's so much knowledge being created and generated, that means that for an individual innovator to be on top of the game, they will have to keep pace with the latest knowledge and the latest tools that are out there to be able to help them. So that's where like AI, quantum computing, etc. come from. And some of these technologies, because of my background in environment and health, I wouldn't say that I'm the best or I'm the expert in it, but I together with colleagues, what we try to do is to understand the general background of these technologies, the general inspirations of this technology, and then see how that interfaces with our field, and also see how we can collaborate with others to create innovations. So for example, in the context of air quality that I was talking about previously, you see that one of the key things we are talking about here is data, because air pollution data. When we are talking of air quality, for example, the key thing here is data. What you're trying to do is to measure the level of the concentration of a certain substance, which we are calling an air pollutant, at a particular place at a particular time. So there are all kinds of dimensions, the concentration itself, the space, the location, the time involved. And when this data is measured consistently, maybe every 10 minutes in the day over 3 months or 4 months, you realize that you generate a large quantum of data. So that's where applying big data analytics to environmental challenges, what some people call environmental analytics or environmental informatics, becomes very crucial. So there you see how big data analytics, for example, interfaces with air pollution. And so we see that the new technologies that are coming are very important in helping us to understand and address challenges that we face. Of course, artificial intelligence can also play a role in terms of building models and predictive tools for future air pollution, etc., etc. So I think that the challenge here is, how do we bring people who have different disciplinary expertise? How do we bring them to the same table to critically analyze and understand present challenges, and then begin to use our competence, whether the competence has to do with understanding what's going on in the environment, whether it has to do with understanding public health, whether it has to do with big data analytics, whether it has to do with AI modeling, whether it has to do with communicating, because even communication itself is a very fine and important tool, communicating the result to the public and engaging them, trying to get them to understand, whether it has to do with project management and coordination. Bringing all this expertise to the table will be very important in creating innovation. So here, education and training is important in the school context, but also more importantly, communities like Global Lab that try to create that landscape for people to learn more, engage, express themselves, will be very crucial in building the world that we want.
Yeah. And maybe now I have the $1 million question, like how all these things can be lead to economic growth, because like we had like at least 50 years of people trying to do things with NGO, all this humanitarian, blah blah blah, UNICEF, all these things that in the end, it's not clear, maybe they didn't do a lot. Or things like education, which is obviously education is important, but in the end, people are piling up now degrees, and then in the end, they don't do much. So then what happens is they move to Europe or US. So it's not really translated in, I don't know, entrepreneurship or real economic growth. Actually, Ghana is not that bad. So maybe you can also mention what are your thoughts why relatively Ghana is more successful than other neighboring country, but still, what is your overall idea of economic growth?
Yeah, well, I think that when we are talking of economic growth, what's really important is how we are able to add value to whatever we have, So there are all kinds of variables that are involved here. Human capacity, like I've been stressing right from the beginning, is very crucial because you have to have the competence, you have to have the knowledge, you have to have the skill, but more importantly, you have to have the attitude, to be able to transform something. The other element that's important is what do you have? Natural resources. Of course, we talk a lot about minerals, the oil and all of these things, but we can also talk of things like nature, all these forests, beach, things that can serve as opportunities for tourism, for example. So the natural resources, they are important. Why? Because how do you transform these capabilities using the knowledge that you have to finished products or to goods that can serve people? Now we are in an age where we talk about the knowledge economy, which means that how you use knowledge and how do you create technology will be very important in creating economic value. And so here Africa has an advantage because in Africa, the population is mainly youthful, it's growing, and urbanization is also going up. What this means is that we are having a very high concentration of young people, potentially economically active people together. And so the opportunity here is that so much emphasis has to be placed on training. And when I say training, I'm not only talking about education. Education is very important, but on top of that, all hands, we need all hands on deck approach. That's why we in Global Lab have decided that, okay, we are going to put a community of students and young professionals together, so that together we're excited about science and technology and its role in transformation, so we can begin to build our own capacities and then look at the challenges that we have in front of us. But at the same time, we need the government, for example, to provide infrastructure. So I was talking about infrastructure because you need electricity to be consistent, you need good roads, you need internet access, for example, to be able to access knowledge, to be able to move from A to B, and also the infrastructure. The economy runs on infrastructure, so that landscape is already created, that framework is already created for people to act. You need businesses to buy into it. The banks and some of these other businesses, they have to not only invest in the proven ways of doing business or the old industries, but also into the new industries. So that's also very crucial. We also need the corporates, like the companies, especially the bigger companies who will also be clients for some of the new tools and technologies that will come. So it's a whole ecosystem thing that has to happen for us to see the transformation. And I think that, like you were asking about Ghana, etc., I think that sometimes to create the landscape for progress, you need various things. So I've talked already about education, I've talked about infrastructure, I've talked about opportunities for young people, but laws are important. And then also the political stability is very important. So I think in Ghana, we have the advantage of political stability. That's very helpful. We also have a decent educational system. It's not the best, and we can always improve, but we have a decent educational system that at least gives people the chance to build certain basic skills. That is the basis on which they can then grow. So that aspect is very crucial. And then now we also see that various governments over the years have invested in infrastructure. They need to do more, but they've done some. And so that also creates opportunities for certain things to begin to happen already, because without access to internet, for example, we can't be able to do anything. But access to internet alone gives young people so much opportunity. There are a lot of young guys in Ghana now doing web development, digital marketing, and all kinds of things. They even work for international clients. They earn decent living just because of the fact that the infrastructure has been provided for them to be able to act.
So you see as a priority access to internet?
Oh, as for internet access, I've been advocating for it since more than 10 years ago.
You can buy in the street, even in rural areas, you can buy these cards.
Exactly. So I have been advocating for internet access.
What do you mean with more access?
No, because the thing is that it's not just having access to the internet. If you're talking of internet access, it's not just having access to the internet, but it's also having access to quality internet, high-speed internet. So I think that can be improved upon.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, but then of course the internet is not the only thing that is needed. People would need like training, sometimes access to certain forms of training, and also, if people want to set up businesses, for example, would they be able to access some funding or at least support like workspace and things like that? These are the things that can help to build innovation. And so proper policy from the government point of view is important, but also just strategic networking and building of relationships, it will be also very crucial. So basically that's what I have to say. There isn't one way of doing it, but there can be a very conscious, intentional, and systematic process that has to be put in place. And also the global community can be also helpful in this. For example, a lot of attention has been coming on Ghana recently because of the fact that Google decided to set up their AI campus here in Accra. Twitter has decided to come in. This global, being able to attract global partners or global players is also very important. We can see the same in other countries like in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Kenya, in Rwanda, the countries where, in Senegal, in countries where we talk about some level of tech innovation happening actively. You can see that they have been very strategic about it. They've put in place some of the measures I've discussed, and that's why we are seeing some of these changes. Yeah.
Okay. So now I have this other $1 million question that I mentioned here. So
does that mean that at the end of the day you are going to pay me $2 million?
Yes, yes. I'm in big debt. So at least it's just 2 million, not that much. So the other thing was we are also all pushing all these things like development, innovation, all these things, economic growth, but unfortunately they also have the side effect that they might introduce bad things like people having more money, they might buy more cars, so there's more pollution, or other things like if you start making a factory, probably it will create some kind of pollution. So how can, and at the moment things like global warming is a huge topic because it's visible that is a problem. So how can we address things like growth and at the same time keeping pollution at the minimum, even in a country like Ghana that is experiencing now these problems? Like Europe probably had it, they should have experience of this kind of issues.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is very important, because I think with economic growth comes rapid urbanization. And when urbanization is increased, you find more people in cities or more people concentrated in particular areas. And so you begin to have challenges with things like waste management, like you said already, lots of vehicles on the road, which means, for example, air pollution, or even this global catastrophe of climate change that we've all been talking about. I think that the challenge here is it's one of the classic challenges of sustainability, where we are talking of trying to achieve balance, right, between social, economic, and environmental priorities. So that's the challenge that we have in front of us. How do we address it? I think that at the heart of it, we have to strengthen our ethical principles and humanistic principles when it comes to what it means to lead a good life and to build a good society, and what it means for us to participate in this society. What do I mean by this? What I mean by this is that the culture of excessive consumerism has to be cut down, or has to be brought down. And also business companies being very conscious that their actions harm the environment, should be able to change their business processes and change their business practices so that we can have more sustainable outcomes. This is very important. There are other issues that we have to be looking at. One of it is the fact that there's knowledge. I keep talking about knowledge and skills. There is already knowledge to be able to address some of these challenges. There are new tools, there are new technologies that are being developed. So we need to begin to implement these new tools and new technologies to address the problems that we are facing already. We also have to invest in development of new tools and technologies. And this has to be done very consciously from the point of view of government, and also from the point of view of business entities, really being serious and conscious that we need to move forward in a more sustainable manner. Because if you take global climate change, for example, it's not going to change. The situation is not going to reverse unless we take action. And so the time that we have to take action is becoming more and more limited. If you take the issue of plastic pollution in Accra, for example, there are technologies to transform waste into electricity or energy or into other things. So these technologies, we have to implement them. But at the same time, it's not about treating. It's not only just about treating waste. It's also about how do we reduce our carbon footprint, or how do we reduce the amount of waste that we generate, which means that behavior change is important. As individuals, when we change our behavior, we become very conscious in terms of protecting the environment. An individual behavior change, when analyzed, might be very marginal compared to the harm that is being caused by companies or business entities. But at the same time, the reason why individual behavior change is important is that companies and business entities are made up of human beings. So once the whole corpus of the population becomes more conscious, what that means is that the companies and business entities will have conscious leaders who can take the right decisions that will reduce the amount of distraction that we have. So it's a very important process in causing that transformation that we seek to have in Africa and around the world, as far as sustainability in terms of development is important. And again, I would like to stress the role of civil society. Traditionally, NGOs and civic groups, when there's environmental distraction in their communities, will go on the street and demonstrate, write letters, protest, which is brilliant. It's a way of holding the leaders into account, But now, we need, in civic action, we need to go beyond some of these traditional practices, but also incorporate tech, incorporate knowledge.
I still believe and non-believe in NGOs.
Well, I think that NGOs
I've become skeptic and tired.
As they've operated traditionally, will not be able to address the issues at hand in today's world. But they can be transformed, or we can form new kinds of organizations. And also NGOs can partner with the civic group, the tech community and other knowledge-driven groups, so that the actual actions that they take will change, and that will lead to transformation in the results that we seek. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that community science, for example, can help us to be able to have some form of data-driven activism when it comes to addressing social issues. So, for example, in Ghana, one of the challenges we have has to do with illegal mining, what we call galamsey, where people go to mine in certain communities and then destroy the environment, destroy the landscape, and destroy water bodies, right? Which ultimately affects access to water, even in cities. It affects cost of water, and affects health in the long term because of the fact that access to good quality water is linked to what? Health, which ultimately affects the economy, And so this problem about galamsey is a huge canker. And so one of the ways of solving it is not just groups protesting about what's going on, which is good, it's brilliant, but also using data to show the harm that's been done. Using technologies like drone, for example, to actually gather information about what's happening in some of these communities, and being able to come up with tools that we can use to track progress in terms of what kinds of solutions are being generated and how effective are these solutions in reducing the problem. I talked about air pollution earlier. Could there be a way where air pollution data is made more accessible to the public for them to know? Because if I live in a particular area and I know that the level of particulate matter in my community is far higher than what the Environmental Protection Agency or the WHO recommends, then I'm more likely to complain and I'm more likely to want to take action. But if I'm not aware of it, obviously I won't be able to take action. So what I'm trying to say is that there has to be a new way of constructing civic participation, which is driven by knowledge and technology, which means that there has to be some kind of marriage between the tech community and the NGO community and the various associations that we have in our various cities and towns to be able to cause this type of new way of approaching sustainability and development issues. The final point I want to make here is that universities have a lot of knowledge. There are repositories of knowledge and technologies, but oftentimes they don't do a very good job translating that knowledge into the society or into the community. So again, universities should see themselves, should see their role when it comes to community participation. They should take up that role more seriously and more actively, and partner with businesses to transfer the knowledge they have to the businesses to improve their sustainable practices. Also partner with civic groups again to build that relationship so that they can be able to do research that is directly impactful in the communities, and also use the knowledge from that research to benefit the community. The university also benefits because they can also pick up what are the core issues or what are the critical issues, what are the issues of need in communities that they can also go back and act on. So you begin to see this relationship between all these different sectors of society. So we have a new vision for sustainability. It's not a new vision as in I'm not the one coming out with it, but it's also part of a lot of discussions globally. And it's not just about saying we want social, economic, and environmental impact, but we are also beginning to see that there has to be some kind of extensive collaboration between different actors of society to be able to see that transformation or that impact that we really want to see. And at the heart of it is people in communities, and like I said before, ethical and humanistic principles that have to be the driving force for decision making.
Okay. And now I leave you off the hook very soon. So what is your vision in general about Ghana for the future, or the rest of Africa?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm always driven by young people, youth participation in development, and youth participation in causing the transformation that we want to see. So my vision for Africa is an Africa where every young person growing up has the opportunity to realize their full potential, has access to education, has access to good health, has access to opportunities that they can express their talents and develop them. We know that African people excel when they are given the support or they are given the right environment to develop. We've seen that time and time again. We've seen that in different fields. Of course, the stereotype is Africans excel, for example, in culture, entertainment, music, sports. But over the last few decades, we've also seen a lot of brilliant African scientists and intellectuals who are impacting the world massively already. So you can see that when given the opportunity, young Africans will actually express themselves, and they will certainly rise to the occasion to solve Africa's challenges, to solve Ghana's challenges, and of course solve global challenges as well. So my vision for the world is creating that landscape, creating that system where young people will have access to the opportunities they need and build their competencies, their capabilities, and ultimately contribute to the world we live in.
Yeah, that was big. And I guess with this, do you have anything to add, or this was your conclusion?
Yeah, I think this is it really. I mean, Global Lab is about bringing people together and collaboratively taking action. The whole movement has been growing gradually, slowly. And my hope is just for this momentum to keep building, and ultimately we reach somewhere. I'm associated with Just One Giant Lab. I work for Just One Giant Lab as well. And again, what we are trying to do is using the open science paradigm, building networks of communities around topical issues. And I'm really excited about this project because then I'm beginning to see what I've been dreaming about, which is how do we solve the challenges? How do we create solutions? So creating communities around topical issues and getting people from all over the continent of Africa to participate in this process. And so what I want to see, my goal or my hope is to see some of these steps that we are beginning to take actually materialize into tangible solutions and outcomes. And so we have to keep pressing, we have to keep working hard, and I'm quite positive that we'll go very far. So that's it.
Okay, great. So if someone wants to know more and wants to participate, I will put down all the links. I will post the main link for the Ghana Lab plus other links you want to tell me. They can just click and follow up with there. And I thank you, and we will see in Accra soon.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. I'm really grateful to get to participate in this, but also just you walking around Krakow, giving me a little bit of the view of the city. I've never been to Poland, so now I have an idea of what Krakow looks like. So thank you for the fantastic opportunity.
Okay. Yeah, the others will see as well.